Hello, our viewers all around the world, and particularly in Sudan and South Sudan, the Sudanese in diaspora. Welcome to this show. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Dada Sundu. I am a prostitute, and I am also women's rights activist, and I advocate for freedom and equality between men and women. So today we have a guest from Australia who is also a strong voice for women. Welcome, Johanna Higgs from Australia. Please introduce yourself to our viewers. I'm sorry if I pronounce your name. I mean, like.
No, yeah. It's okay. Johanna Higgs. Yeah, okay. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm so happy to be here with you, and I'm so pleased that you're doing this. I think you're amazing that you have this initiative and that you're talking about these extremely important issues in Sudan and everywhere else around the world. So thank you so much. So my name is Johanna, and I'm from Australia originally, but actually my parents both grew up in Africa, so I have some links to Africa in that way. I'm an anthropologist, and I focus on children and war and also on gender issues. So I started a small organization called Project Monma, which aims to raise awareness about violence and discrimination against women and girls around the world. And I've been to many different parts of the world doing different types of research projects on different types of forms of violence and discrimination against women and girls. And of course, the problem is insanely bad everywhere. Some places are much worse than others. But for that reason, I decided that I wanted to speak out on these issues and try to encourage people to change their attitudes and change their behavior so we can have a more fair, free, equal, and just world for everybody, not just for one half of the population. So, yeah, back to you, Sandu.
Now you can also share the live stream. I mean, like on your Facebook. I just sent you the link. So yeah, I hope you also share the live stream. Our viewers all over the world. I just sent you the link on your Skype. So please help us so that we can spread the message. So before we start sharing, I mean, I'm going to share a little bit about myself, who I am, and why I decided to become a prostitute. And then we are going to bring back our guest, and we are going to talk about like an overview. So, as I say that today, my guest and I are going to give an overview or a big picture of gender inequality that exists all over the world, particularly in the third countries, I mean, or in the third world countries, like my country of origin, Sudan. But before we start, as I said, I would like to tell you a little bit about myself and why I became a prostitute and why I became women's rights activist. You see, I am originally from Darfur, and that is in Western Sudan. But right now, I live in Khartoum. And for those who don't know Darfur, it is in Western Sudan, where genocide has been happening since 2003. And even it is still continuing even right now. You see, the government of dictator Omar Hassan Ahmad al-Bashir, or Omar al-Bashir, recruited militia known as Janjaweed militia. This militia burned villages, raped a lot of women, abducted and kidnapped too many women, killed hundreds of thousands of people, And right now, as I am talking, there are millions of Darfur people who became refugees and internally displaced. And most of them are women and children. Most of these are women and children. You see? So they cannot go back to their original villages because the Janjaweed militia, and the new settlers are now occupying their places, and the Janjaweed militia are now actually in power. They are the ones who are the leaders in Sudan. You see, like Muhammad Hamdan Dagalo, and the one who recruited Janjaweed, like the actual chairperson of Sudan, or Sovereignty Council in Sudan, Abdul Fattah al-Burhan. He is the one who recruited the Janjaweed, and the leader of the Janjaweed, Muhammad Hamdan Dagalo, they are the actual leaders in Sudan. And like the Janjaweed militia and new settlers who came from countries like Chad, Central Africa, in Mali and other countries, they are now occupying the places and villages of those people and of those women who are now displaced. So as for me, our village, or my village, was attacked in 2003, and my husband was killed, and all the other men in that village or in my village were killed too. And I was left with 10 children. I had to leave the camp, and then, I have to leave the village and go to a camp that is internally displaced persons camp, IDP camp. And when I was living in the camp, whenever I and with other women went outside to bring firewood, the Janjaweed militia came and raped us. That's why I was fed up. I left that camp and I came here in Khartoum. And right now I am in Khartoum. I tried my best to feed my children and to send them to school. Nobody helped me. And there was nothing that I could do. I tried to sell tea, and the government and the police used to come and take away my equipment. And finally, I decided to become a prostitute, to sell my body. Even though I hate this job, even though I don't like this job, I was forced to become a prostitute just to feed my children. And despite all that I am going through, men are still insulting me. They are not treating me well. They treat me very bad. So that is a little bit about myself. And now I am going to bring back our guest so that she can share also about her experiences or what she's doing and the pain that women are going through all over the world. Welcome back.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, welcome back.
Thank you. Sorry about that. There was a slight technical issue there, but I think it's okay now, right?
Oh, no problem. Yes, no problem.
All right.
Go ahead.
Great. Sorry, what was the question? I didn't quite hear as I was...
Okay, yes. I was just asking you to share more about what you do, and also to just give an overview of the gender inequality that exists in places where you worked, and even in Australia and in the third world, whatever you know, and what we need to do. Yeah.
So, I've been traveling around the world for a long time, and I've been in very many different parts of the world. I've been in Latin America. I've been in many parts of Africa, Middle East, in all over Asia. I'm currently living in Cambodia, of course, throughout the Western world as well. I've been to most parts of the ex-Soviet Union. I've never been to Russia, but everywhere around it. And I can tell you that there is very few parts of the world where violence against women and sort of discrimination against women is not a serious problem. And I really mean that, it's a problem. It's not something that's normal. It's not something that's cultural. It's not something that's acceptable in any way, shape or form, it's a problem. And these forms of violence can come in so many different ways, whether it's domestic violence. And I actually, you know what? I hate that term, domestic violence. It's not that. It's a man bashing his wife, you know, at home, or his children, or it could be a woman as well, but it's usually men. Is sexual violence. We've got problems of rape. Sexual harassment is a massive issue. So we have, what do I mean by that? I mean men hollering at women as they walk down the street, taunting them, making sexually degrading comments, things that are entirely inappropriate that they would never once said to their mother, as they go about to school, as they go to work, as they're on public transport. It's about men abusing positions of power in the workplace, about men telling women that they have to give sexual favors in return to be, you know, to achieve something at work, to be able to get grades while they're at school. All this kind of disgusting, inappropriate behavior that has no place in this world. It could be human trafficking. It could be women and girls and boys and men being taken to be sold for the purpose of somebody else. You know, there are so many forms of violence against women. When it comes to discrimination against women, something that is also a massive issue around the world is this very ridiculous and offensive notion that men somehow have more value than women based on no particular scientific or social evidence, only just because men say so, which is utterly ridiculous. And like I said, extremely offensive. It comes, this obviously then translates in restricting women's basic fundamental human rights, whether it's a right to choose how she dresses, to what she wants to wear, where she wants to wear color, whether she wants to wear something short, something tight, something big. It doesn't matter. It's her right to choose. It's about telling women about where they have the right to go, not letting women and girls go to school, not letting women go to work, not letting women have high positions of power. I mean, I could go on and on and on. And so I think that these problems, from what I've seen in my travels around the world, is that they are different in different places. Domestic violence, sexual violence, and sexual harassment are everywhere, but there's not things like, you know, a lot of the things that come, say, for example, within Islam, like we were talking about before, with inheritance laws, that's not everywhere. You know, forced marriage is not everywhere. Female genital mutilation is not everywhere. These sort of things are just in certain parts of the world. Forcing women to wear burqas and niqabs and things like this is not everywhere. In fact, it's in very few parts of the world. So, but this idea,
I mean, like, are you like saying that, I mean, like this gender inequality and, I mean, abuse against women is almost everywhere, but it's maybe like, it may not be the same, right?
Yeah, I mean, some things are the same. Like, I think sexual harassment is everywhere. It's in different intensities in different places. Like where I come from, it's not really a problem. To be honest with you, I can walk down the street and everybody leaves me alone. Maybe once every 6 months, some idiot will say something to me, and you know, and I tell him some language that maybe I should not use on this show, and and he leaves, and then he leaves me alone. But he has no right to do that where I'm from, and he knows it. But in other parts of the world, it's a different story. And things like domestic violence, with men hitting women at home for any reason, which is often no reason. There's never a good reason to hit a woman, is also a sort of everywhere. But there are certain things that are specific to certain places. You know, like we don't see, like the Taliban, for example, are executing or have executed women who don't wear the burqa. We don't see that throughout the Islamic world, do we? That's not everywhere.
That is true.
Yeah, so I think, and you know, in different parts of the Islamic world, women can wear color. I've been to places they don't cover their hair and they're wearing jeans and things like this. So this, even within specific social zones, like the Islamic world, for example, there's so much diversity in what's allowed and what's not allowed, depending on the local sort of social systems I've seen.
Thank you so much. So you see, like in my country, Sudan, like, if someone does something shameful, like they say, you are acting like a woman, you know, like as if a woman is a symbol of shame. You see, like if someone does something very evil, like they associate that with women. Like for example, I was just telling you about I mean, the Janjaweed leader, the militia leaders who actually committed, and they still commit a lot of crimes in Sudan, and they rape women. So like they are literally the worst people. I was just looking for some picture, and
that's
now
not a man.
Yes, so they're men, but
no, they're not men.
Sorry,
they're not men.
Oh, they are men, sure.
Oh, so, no, they're not. No real man does that.
Oh, sure, and that's exactly what I was saying. Yes, 100%. Yes, I mean, like they are males, but they are not men. Actually, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
You are absolutely right. 100%.
Yeah, that's right. They're males physically, but they are not men.
Thank
a real
you
man
for correcting.
Never do.
Yes, definitely. Okay. They are just males, just like other animals out there, but they are not men. Exactly, because for us to be a man, is to protect. To protect. Exactly. Yeah. To be a man is to not be silent when you see something wrong, to not harass women, to not assault them, to respect them. Like for who they are, and to respect them as human beings. And not only that, but also actually, as people who, as human beings who are actually contributing more than men everywhere in the world, around the world. It's not just in Sudan. I believe that everywhere around the world, women are contributing to the human life more than men. That's just finished. That's what I believe, actually.
That's just a fact. That's just a fact. Especially in Africa, I've seen it myself. I traveled a lot through Africa. Like I said, my family are from there and grew up there. And I've been to many parts of Africa, and I see it. The women are doing everything. And it's hard what they're doing, especially women who are living in rural areas, carrying the jerry cans of water on their head, and they got their baby on their back, and they're getting the firewood to make the fire and the food. The husband's drunk over there doing nothing, and he's busy harassing women as she's, over there. Well, she's doing everything, and she's making this fabulous contribution to her country and her society by bearing children and bringing them up and so forth. Yeah, that's absolutely a fact. It's just not recognized.
That is true. So I was saying that, like, those, leaders who are now leaders and who actually committed a lot of crimes, especially against women, and they still have militia in Darfur, and they are still, raping a lot of women every day. So, like to see how disrespectful, a lot of males in Sudan think about women. Now they I had a picture. I was actually looking for that picture. I don't know where to find them. So those two males are now actually portrayed as women. They're just as evil as women. They are maybe not only in Sudan, but some of the most evil people on earth. And now both of them are there is a picture that they portray them as women. And that is literally saying that, this Muhammad Hamdan Dagalo, Hemeti, and Burhan, you are just as evil as women. Who said that women are evil? What did they do? What is their problem? Evil because of what? Because they have given the current 7.9 billion people, given birth to 7.9 billion people. Evil because they bring up their kids. All the people all over the world, and they breastfeed them. They go and they dig the ground. They feed them. They feed their husbands. They work day and night tirelessly. Is that why they are evil? Or are they evil because they have vaginas? Why are they evil? Why are men thinking that way? That is actually insulting to every woman. Because, and I was actually just trying to look for that picture. I don't know where did I put it. It is very, very, very sad actually too. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I'm going to, you go ahead and talk. I think I'm going to search for this picture. I really need it.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I think one of the things, I've thought a lot about this because in my travels, I've obviously heard men saying things like this. And I spent a long time being just very, very offended. And I'm still very, very offended because it's a very, very offensive statement to make. And like we were talking about earlier, there's not a single man in this world or a single man watching now that would tolerate that being said about him. So why on earth would he be tolerating such a disgusting statement being said about women? But I have really thought about this, and I'm thinking why men are so and it's not all men. I think this is something also to point out. There are very good and very strong men out there, and very real men who don't take any part in these disgusting attitudes and behaviors. So what's the difference? Like, what's the difference between these really wonderful men who stand up for other women and want to protect women and want to be, go through life next to women, when there are these other men who seem to actually be the majority men, who feel this need to dominate. These are the genderweed.
Sorry for interrupting you. Yeah, these are the men I was talking about. And now if you can see.
What is this supposed to illustrate? It's trying to say, okay, there's the same level of evil as that of women.
Exactly. They're just, I mean, I can't even imagine. This is so
stupid.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, like people just take it as if normal. Maybe some of them, they don't understand what that actually means. But I mean, like, nobody even talks about that. Yeah, sorry, I interrupted you. Yeah, go ahead.
No. I mean, it's really interesting. Actually, I want to come to that. But I was going to say, what is the difference between the two men, these two different groups of men, And I think that, it is about strength. This is actually one thing that I've learned at my age is how to define a good man from a man from a not from a man, a male. Is this issue? It's like, I think that there are a lot of men who feel very insecure. They don't feel that they can live up to society's standards of them. They don't feel attracted to women. And actually, I think that's a huge one. I think a lot of men who don't feel attracted to women or can't attract women have a strong feeling of insecurity and a feeling of not being good enough. And they feel revengeful towards women. I don't know if that's a word in English, but they feel like taking revenge out on women, and they feel angry at women. And so I think that partly plays a role in this need to dominate and portray women as evil, is because they feel so hurt by women or they feel so rejected by women. And I think it's also about getting into the gene pool. I think women have a lot of control over reproduction. As like, for example, if I get pregnant, I know this baby is going to be my baby, right? There's no doubt about it because it's growing in my body. But for men, they don't have the same kind of security. And I, as an anthropologist, I would put forth this argument that reproduction is a central part of anything that's alive's purpose, whether it's a plant, an animal, a human. We're all trying to reproduce, right? So men have a lot of a lack of security in this process. And I think if men can't find a way to get into the reproductive process, they feel socially excluded, like they failed as a man, and that sort of also plays a role in this desire to gain control over women. And so I think that these kind of men that have this attitude that you're describing here are the ones that are the most weak. They're the most insecure because they feel they can't, first of all, get into that reproductive. They can't attract a female. They can't find females. And so they become this way towards women. So I think that's what we could say about that.
And I think it could also differ from culture to culture. For example, in my culture and in many other countries around Islamic world, what men actually think is that women, they are just receivers of reproduction. I mean, they think that babies are theirs. And not only think, but that's what they believe. That's why a woman has as a woman, can you imagine? You don't have a right to take your children without the permission of a man. But a man can take his children and go anywhere around the world. But you as a woman, you cannot actually, take your own children, because these children are not actually yours in Sudan and in the Islamic world. They belong to a man. You see, for example, in Sudan, when a woman, let's say if a Sudanese Sudanese man marries, a foreigner, a foreign lady from another country, then their children can be granted Sudanese citizenship. Why? Because a wife belongs to a man. But on the other hand, if an Australian man, for example, marries a Sudanese lady, then their children are not going to be granted Sudanese citizenship because this Sudanese lady now belongs to her Australian man. Can you imagine that this is literally what is being practiced in Sudan and in almost the entire of Muslim world?
Yeah, I know, and it's disgusting. It's an absolute disgrace. But it actually links into what I'm saying as well about this wanting to gain the desperate control. I don't think it's about control over the children. It's about control over the woman. Because I've spoken to a lot of women about this issue, and a lot of women will say that they will not divorce their husbands because they're scared that will happen. They're scared that he will take away their children. And that's what I think it's all about. It's about gaining control over the...
misunderstood you. Yeah, I'm getting what you're saying. Okay, yes, definitely. It's not about children. Yes, definitely. Yeah,
you know what I mean? And it's just that's what I mean about this is about weak men. They don't feel that they can keep their women. They don't feel that they're able to do that. So they have to desperately place these extreme controls over them that are done in very clever ways and in many parts of the world, is because it's done through this, for example, like not giving women rights over their children. And I think, but what I think about that is that any social system in the world has to, and I would say this about mine as well. I don't think that working in this, as you were saying before, very selfish way to do what is right. No social systems should be structured to only suit one half of it. That's not fair. You know, like it has to, okay, so if men feel an insecurity about certain things, about being able to get women, be attractive to women, that's their problem. You know, that they have to deal with that on their own. It is not right and it is not fair to subjugate the other half of the population so that they can feel a little bit less insecure about things in their lives, you know?
That is absolutely right. And just to add to what you just said, like, why men do have fear about how they try to control. Even here in Canada, there are a lot of Sudanese men who have wives, but they don't want their wives to go to school, for example, or to drive. And if you ask them why, they say because, because they just know that control is there in women. So they say that if a woman goes to school, for example, and she may leave me, because if she's educated or if she is started driving, she's going to get her freedom. So they are just trying to to control them. You see? Exactly.
Well, I mean, two things. Yeah, exactly. Two things about that. You know, exactly. That's the point. They're frightened little men. That's all that they are. They're nothing men. You know, we know that these are not real men. We know that because otherwise they wouldn't do those things. And there are, in fact, many men that don't do those things. And that's how we know the difference. But I mean, the other thing is if they cannot do that in Canada. That's for a start illegal. You cannot infringe on people's rights like that. They have any man going to Canada, you cannot do that. You cannot do that in Australia. You cannot do that in Europe. No, it's not acceptable. If you want to come live in those countries, you need to change your attitudes and your ways. You cannot stop women from driving, and you most certainly cannot stop girls going to school. It's illegal to not send a girl to school in Western countries. And I think you're exactly right. This is why girls are not sent to school in so many parts of the world, because an educated woman would never accept a man like this that does or thinks these ways. Never accept a man. And she also has an ability to go out and earn her own income and therefore make choices about the men that she wants to have in her life. I know that for a fact because that's the case of me. I would never tolerate a man like that, ever. And I don't. And it's my choice.
That must, not should, but must be true for every woman, every girl outside there. That must be true. Yeah. I mean, it must be the same. I mean, like in Sudan, women are usually like they said, like they don't have a choice. They just I mean, marriages are just arranged between families. So they say we have I mean, like, you have to marry this guy. That's it. Finish. I mean, you don't have a say. And I mean, even if she says yes, I mean, it's because she just wants to conform to the norms of the society. It's not that because she actually likes the man. And that's why a lot of marriages are, I mean, like, destroyed or dismantled. A lot of divorces because you have not given women, I mean, girls, their freedom to search, I mean, their life partners the way they want them. Why should you just point out, who are you? Are you going to live with them? They are, I mean, just come on. I can't believe that this is still happening in the 21st century. It is very sad.
Agree.
Yeah,
I totally agree. And I think it's so amazing that you're saying that. I think that's going to be so refreshing for like so many women to hear you say that. You know, I mean, I think I said to you in another conversation that we had, but like I've traveled through, if we just speak about the Islamic world for the moment, like I've traveled through many parts of the Islamic world, which is, of course, goes across cultural zones. You know, you obviously have in Asia, then you have in Central Asia, and you have in South Asia, and you have in the Middle East, and you have in Africa. And so there's different parts of the world, and they all seem to see Islam differently and have different ways of interpreting whatever Islam is. But one thing that I have noted is that as I've traveled through these many parts of the world and had lots and lots of conversations with different men and women of different ages, but mostly younger, and people who obviously can speak English about these issues, is that everybody that I've met at least wants change. They don't want to live. They don't want that. I've never met anybody, not even one time, in all the Islamic countries I've been to throughout Central Asia and in the Middle East and Africa and so forth, that wants to be forced to marry someone that they don't love. I did a whole thing on it in Afghanistan. I wrote an article about it being like dangerous to love in Afghanistan. It's like a danger to fall in love. And they have I met this mullah, a female mullah actually, who has she does this whole ritual, almost like a spell, which I think was strange to me because I thought this wasn't allowed in Islam. But again, I guess it depends where you are, to help people fall in love because they're forced to marry people that they don't love. And I think that this is something that no one will say in Islamic societies, really, because they're afraid and they're scared of the social repercussions, and they're scared of the physical repercussions that could happen. And I think this is really a bad thing because everybody should have the right to choose what they want in their life and what kind of society they want to live within. And if they don't want to be forced into a marriage that they don't want, I feel it is their right to be able to say so. But I mean, from my side, I think there's a lot of fear in the Islamic world, and young people especially don't want to speak up and say what they really feel. But I wish that they would, because I think they would find that there's so many other people that think the same as them, especially on issues like this. And also everything to do with women's rights, so many. And also there's also so many very good men in Islamic countries, as yourself, but also many others that support these initiatives and support change for women. And I know that because I've met them and because they've helped me doing things in relation to women's rights.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So yeah, I mean, you see, I was just trying to say that despite all the pain that I have gone through, and I'm not alone, there are actually hundreds of thousands of women who suffer the same as I suffered. And as I just said, that I am selling, my body in order to feed my children, in order to feed to send them to school. And despite all this pain, men still insult me, and they say, oh, you are the worst woman. You are a prostitute. You are just a garbage. You are just a piece of rubbish. And some of them, they just grab me and they assault me. They sexually assault me. They harass me, on the street. And when I refuse, they say, they just enter their pocket their hand into their pocket. They take some money. They say, take it. They say take it because I'm not doing this for free. I'm doing this for money. Your body is for sale. And then they say that F word. So this has to change because they don't know why we became prostitutes. They don't know. They don't know what forced us. If we only got equal opportunities, I mean, like if there were equal opportunities for everybody in the society, I mean, like a woman who wants to become a prostitute, if there are a lot of opportunities, that's her choice. But a lot of those women who are now prostitutes, especially in Sudan, they wouldn't have become a prostitute. For example, I wouldn't have become a prostitute if there were equal opportunities. Because for us as women, because we are strong, because we are the original human beings, because we are the true human beings, because we are, I mean, like we are the one who care the most about human beings, and we are the ones who must be respected the most. So because we as a women, we will not let our children die. That's why we can do anything. But men can just leave their kids and go and for example, in Darfur, a lot of men, they just marry a woman, they leave their kids, 5, 6 kids, they go and marry another. They don't care. They don't just give birth, go and find another woman, give birth. So that means they don't actually care about children. All they care is about their selfishness, about their pleasure. That's all. And even in relationship, they don't even care about the pleasure of their partners, because they just think that she's just a tool, a toy. That's it. But that has to stop, because I, Dada Sundu, I'm not going to keep silent. And a lot of Sudanese people are like, okay, why are you talking like that? And now they try to mock me. They say, okay, so now you are talking like that and you are acting like a woman. So do you get menstruation? It's like they're trying to make me feel ashamed. And I want to say, okay.
What a silly thing to say.
I want to tell them, I am a woman. And when I say a woman, that means the original, the true human being, okay? So because I am a woman, that is part of my life. Yes, I menstruate every month. What is the problem with that? Why should girls and women be ashamed because of menstruation? Who said that? I completely believe that sometimes, I mean, like in the past, long ago, there was no problem, but somewhere in history, some fools and bigots, and I believe that they were men, they just came and they tried to control women, to enslave them, and they said that, okay, so it's evil that women have, I mean, menstruation. But for me, I am Dada Sundu. Listen, I don't care about any man. I manage my menstruation very well, and I talk about it publicly. I don't care. That is part of me. And let me tell you right now, I just changed my pads, and I use, I mean, like the reusable sanitary pads that are made up of cloth. I wash them very well with hot water, and then I dry them outside in the sun, because I saw a lot of women who dry this, what they use. Most of the Sudanese women are using the reusable ones, so they are drying them in the dark place, and that is dangerous for them, and a lot of bacteria is there. But for me, I dry them outside. I don't care if my husband sees them. I don't care if my children see them, because they need to know that that is part of me. For me, my sanitary pads are just like my blouse and my skirt. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what this thing is about menstruation. I mean, even in the West, we use different words like we say, I would say it's my time of the month. Like, you can't say it directly. I don't know what, it's so stupid. I mean, none of us would be born if women didn't menstruate. It needs to happen in order for birth to happen. I mean, there's so many things that have come from history, and like, I think people didn't understand or couldn't explain. We didn't know what rainbows were at one time. And it's like, oh, it's a gift from God. I mean, we now know it's not a gift from God. We know that there is a scientific explanation for it. And I wonder if this fear of menstruation is just because men, like, they're like, oh God, like they don't understand it and they're scared of it. I mean, you see it in a lot of cultures, and I don't really understand the fear of it. I mean, it all seems very silly, like, it is a natural part of life. A woman could have not given birth to you without it happening. So we need to just get over it and just tolerate that and understand this is what a woman needs to go through. And it's a very uncomfortable thing to go through, and it causes a lot of pain. So we just need to, like, leave this issue alone, have respect for the fact that it happens, and leave it at that, But I wanted to go back to what you're saying about being a prostitute, and I think this is a very important topic to speak on, because this is one that, I mean, I could talk about for a while, because there's so many unfair things about this. But yeah, I mean, I think, you know, there are so many elements of the discrimination against prostitutes that is so unfair. But one of the most unfair is when women are forced into it because of a situation of conflict, like you're saying from Darfur. So let's have the scenario where you have a woman who her home, her area that she is living in has gone into conflict. All right, her husband's dead. She's got 7 children. And I know these stories. I've come across women like this in many parts of the world. She's got 7 children. She's got no education because of the community or place where she's grown up has decided that the girls should not be educated for the reasons that we most likely discussed before. She's got no education. She can't go to work. Why not? Because if she goes to work or she tries to find work, she's going to be sexually harassed, right? So I did one project where I went to Lebanon, and I was talking to Syrian women who were there as refugees. And this was a serious problem that they were facing. They were getting really harassed by everybody, by the Lebanese bus drivers, by the Muslim Lebanese bus drivers, by the it was all from Muslim men, Lebanese men, that were harassing these women just because they knew that they were vulnerable, just because they knew they were in difficult situations, just because they knew that they needed to have a way of surviving. And I remember meeting one Syrian woman who had like 6 or 7 daughters, and she'd sold one of them into a temporary marriage. Now, I don't think in the Sunni, correct me if I'm wrong, but in the Sunni sect of Islam, this doesn't happen. It's a Shia thing. And this happened, and she ended up having to sell one of her daughters into marriage as a way of gaining income, because she was so limited for all the reasons that I've just said. This temporary husband, beats the daughter, so she ends up having to take her out of that situation, and she's just in this absolutely horrendous situation. And so what is she supposed to do? Everywhere that she goes, she's getting sexually harassed. She tries to get a job in a shop, she gets sexually harassed. Almost every Syrian woman that I met was getting sexually harassed when they were trying to go to work in a restaurant, in a shop, or something like that. This is absolutely disgusting. And so when women are forced into the situation where that is the only option, and let's face it, most people, men and women, don't really want to do that. Nobody really wants to do that. And it's got nothing to do with social stigma or anything like that. It's just not really something that anybody really, really wants to do, is it? You don't want someone you don't know touching you. I mean, it's just, or someone you're not attracted to touching you. That's just disgusting. Nobody really wants that. So why on earth would we stigmatize someone put in that situation? Why would we be such horrendous, horrible human beings? What part of our culture, of our religions teaches us to be that way? Who would do that to another human being? You know, if someone... Go ahead.
Sorry for interruption. And that's my question. Why should we do that? I mean, why shouldn't we think about their situation and then try to change what forced them to do so? And like as you said, I mean, nobody actually wants to do that. And I can talk about Sudan. I know, like, nobody's going to do that if they really have, if there are equal opportunities, if there's no discrimination against women, if men and women are equal in everything, not just in some things.
And men don't want to do it either, do they? Like, there's no man that wants to do that.
I think men want to do, but males, I mean, the fake men don't want to do. Yes.
Let's say most prostitution is for other men, or most prostitution is going to be with much older women.
Sorry. I was thinking. Sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. But it's not like you're going to get there's not like models looking to buy prostitutes. This is going to be somebody that, you know, of a certain type of person. That's, you know, this is going to be other men. It's going to be much, much older women. You know, that's the point. There's no man that wants to be forced into
I was thinking you were like saying that most men don't want to do change the situation. That's what I understood. That's why I was like,
No, I'm just saying no man would want to be forced into that situation of having to turn to prostitution as a way of surviving.
That is true. Absolutely right.
Any man watching right now, ask yourself, if that had happened to you, if it was the only way of making money, and then all of the people around you stigmatized you because you tried to survive by doing that, how would you feel? Pretty bad.
I believe, I mean, yeah, this is the question that they need to ask. But for me, as I know, if a man has 10 or 5 or 6 children and he has to feed them, I believe that he would rather leave them alone in Sudan, for example. I mean, even if
Really?
or just go and throw them, give to any woman, and then he run away. Instead of doing that, that's what they will do. But because we women, because we are the true life, we are the origin of humanity. We don't like, I mean, we don't want our children to just die like that. Those who are living in our hands, we don't want them to die because we have that humanity in our hearts. But despite all this, I mean, why don't we get the respect that we deserve? It's not that we are against men, but we just need our rights in full. That's all. We need to get the respect that we deserve. You see? Yeah.
But I think, again, it has to come back to this. Sorry, excuse me. It has to come back to this question of why men are not one. Are so, you know, or why certain men are so desperate to disrespect women. You know, like, I'm sure that for any woman watching, but also, I mean, I know when I've experienced harassment in the street, you know, it is the most unpleasant thing you could ever, I mean, it is so unpleasant. It is just, and when it happens all the time. But one of the things I feel like when it's happening is it is very much about like domination. Like, it's about, you know, like they want to do that to you. And the question is why, you know. And I think it really does go back to this weakness that we're talking about, that, you know, the men that do those things are weak. They're trying to seek power. It's kind of like a bully at school. You know, like if you've been to school and there's like always a bully trying to like taunt someone else. It's like that. It's like, why is that bully doing that? Because the bully is weak and the bully needs to feel, you know, powerful over others. And that's why they're doing it. I mean, there's no doubt that women are, you know, that there are so many incredible women around the world that have the most enormous strength and power and capabilities to do amazing things. And we see that in places where women are allowed to achieve to their fullest. We see so can I give an example even?
Oh, yeah.
Can I? Okay, so a while back, I was in a terrible accident, a bus accident. And if you can see on my hand, I lost half my hand. Oh, and I had really bad facial injuries. And most of my face got ripped up in the gravel. Oh, that's okay. Thank you. I'm fine. So it's all right. I had to have a skin graft. That's all from my stomach. But the woman, the person who did my face was a female surgeon in Australia, and she's one of the most. She's famous. Like, even when her name's Fiona Wood, and even when you talk to people from where I'm from, they know. Then everyone knows her. She's won awards. She's won Australian of the Year, which is the most prestigious award that you can win in Australia. And she developed this incredible thing called spray-on skin, and she did it for burns victims. So there was a while back, there was there've been 2 bombing attacks, suicide bombers in Bali, and they blew up a whole bunch of people. A lot of them were Australians, and a lot of the victims got flown to Australia. And so she developed it for that. And basically, in layman's terms, what she does, she takes skin from the back of the, in my case, from the neck, and like crushes it up and sprays it on. She designed that. She created that. She helped me so much. I know you can't see too many scars anymore. Wow. Because of that. Now, if she was not allowed to get an education, if she was not allowed to reach her full potential, there are so many people that would not receive the help that they are getting now because of her. You know, I read a Human Rights Watch report recently. It was from Afghanistan, and it says, because, you know, girls are not allowed to, you know, in so many places in Afghanistan are not allowed to be educated. And it says, one day, you won't let me a doctor, and one day you'll be sick. And it's so true. You do not allow, you've got so much potential in girls and women to contribute at the highest levels. You know, we see, who is the leader of Germany? One of the most economically productive countries, the strongest economies in all of the world. All of the countries on this planet, one of the strongest at the moment economically, recovered from a massive world war in which they lost, is led by a woman. and has been for the last 16 years. You know, I don't think there is any doubt about the ability that women have. And it's obviously not all women in the same way that not all men, but it's just, it is disgusting to like not allow women this to contribute to our community, because it not only is it offensive and it's horrible, and there's no man that would want to allow that to have him put in that situation, and indeed they don't. You know, whenever men are excluded because of race or social class or whatever, they complain so much. So there's no reason why women don't have a right to complain when it's done to them. But anyways, aside from that, think of all the things that we are missing in this world because we don't have women and girls contributing to their fullest. You know, it is men are contributing to their own suffering by doing that. You know, it is absolutely essential that women and girls are given equal opportunities to achieve in this world as everybody else, for the good of everybody.
That is, and I completely agree with you. I mean, like, but the problem is that they don't know that. They are thinking that if we allow women to have their freedom, then we are like going to be, we are going to be less important, or we are not like going to have, what we used to have. But I completely, understand that it's completely going to, things are going to change for better for everybody, including for men. But a lot of men don't know that. And you see, in my country again, a lot of men are, when I act, they say, you see, women's place is just in a house. Women cannot lead. I tell them, no, women can lead. And I tell them that I just start from the simplest thing. I say, listen, as a man, if you have a wife, and suppose your wife, died, can you take care of the kids by yourself without bringing any other woman? They say, no, yeah, I can take care and I can go and marry another woman. I say, okay, go and marry another woman or women, but just let them live in a different house. I'm talking about your kids with that woman who died. Can you take care of them? And then she said, why do I have to bring the other woman? I say, no, that woman is like you. So I told them that, so you are bringing her because you are unable to take care of them, right? And then they were like, no, that is her job. And then I say, okay, since you cannot do, and you are thinking that you cannot do, I know they can do, but they are just, that's how they think. That means you are very poor in leadership. And that means woman is better in leadership than men. And then there was, no, that can't happen. I say, yes, because the leadership starts from a house, from a family. The leadership starts from a simple, small thing. Since you cannot do, I tell them that the reason that we are failing in Sudan and there's so much problems in Sudan is because we have not given women, opportunity to lead the country. All of them are, those who lead the country are men, and they don't care because they just kill. They don't care about human life. If we can only give, an opportunity to the women, I believe that we are going to be better, far better off. But some of them, they don't even get what I'm saying. And not only that, can you believe that a lot of men, they vow to kill me just because I act like that? Can you imagine?
Women do.
Yes, they say no matter where you are, because they say you are, what you are doing, you are ashamed to Sudan. You are ashamed.
How are you ashamed to Sudan?
All men, you are ashamed to the Muslims. And then I was, come on. Okay, you say I am ashamed to men. Where are men? Where? Are there any men in Sudan? I told them. If I told them, if there are men in Sudan, I told them that men cannot keep silent when women are raped day and night. Where are these men? I'm searching for them. Maybe I found few of them, but I'm still actually searching for the men there, because I say maybe they are males. Yes, they are males, but they are not men.
Yeah, yes. Exactly. And I think there's a lot of people that think that way. But I don't understand. Why are you ashamed to Sudan? I don't understand.
because they say you are dressed like a woman, because a woman, as I said, is a symbol of shame, is a symbol of weakness in Sudan. I mean, that's how people think. Now, of course, you know, I know our original African indigenous culture, women was respected, a woman was a queen, a woman was Kandaka, she was ruling, I mean, the empire that was called Kush, that was actually in, I mean, like thousands of years before Christ. And we have the history of that. But now the other culture that came from, I mean, Arabia, Arabian Peninsula, it is changing that culture. And now even our own people, a lot of them, they start thinking about women as shame, as nothing. So some of those who are actually, I mean, like threatening me, they are from my own ethnicity. They are from my own family, I mean, close, I mean, like relatives, because they say this is very shame. Because now everybody will say that you are not men.
Okay, well, I think it should be known that regardless of whether they say that or not, there is a huge amount of people around the world that don't think that would not agree with them at all. I'm obviously one of them. You know, I think I completely understand what you're doing and why, and I think that's absolutely fantastic. And I think the fact that other people are so closed-minded and so backwards that they can't undersee that, and I think is just that it's backwards. There is a part of life that progression that we are trying to achieve. I think, okay, let me rephrase. I think what we should be trying to achieve globally is trying to achieve a world in which we are all now interconnected. Is this like you? I'm from Australia, originally from the UK. You are from Sudan, now living in Canada. We are talking. Well, I'm in Cambodia. You know, there's so much. We are becoming so interconnected. We have to come to agreements with each other about what's right and wrong, and we have to. I would argue we have to be working towards a world where there is more tolerance. There are so many different cultures and values and ideas around the world. We cannot say my religion, my culture, my this is superior above all, and everyone else has to think like I think, otherwise they're wrong, or they're infidels, or they're whores, or they're this, or they're that. No, you know, that is not accept. We have to be open-minded. We have to accept others. We have to see other people's points of view. And as long as the other person is not harming anybody, what on earth is wrong with it? What are you? You're not harming anybody. You are trying to do exactly the opposite. You are trying to help. You are trying to raise awareness. You are trying to draw attention to a really important issue, which actually makes you a hero. It's not shameful in any way, shape, or form whatsoever.
Thank you for that.
You know,
and
it's a wonderful thing.
Add something. Okay, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
No, it's an absolutely wonderful thing, and I think this is extremely important. And people who have very closed minds and who are going to be disrespectful and rude and make comments that are, you just bring shame on yourself. No one's going to respect you while you are rude and disgusting and make bad comments.
But on the other hand,
look at you badly.
Yes, thank you. On the other hand, I also want, because like I said a lot about the wrong ones, but on the other hand, there are a lot of men and women, particularly women, who are like literally almost dancing, like they are very, very, very happy in what I'm doing. I mean, every day I get like countless messages. I cannot even read all of them. I mean, they are like, because women, they are like just, I mean, they are telling me that this is what I am facing. This is what we are facing. We need this. We need more of you, and you are the best man ever we have seen ever. And now a lot of them, they are even coming out. And I mean, like, there are a lot of positivity as well. It's not only negative side. So I'm also excited about that.
And there will be. I mean, exactly. And I think that I mean, I don't think there would be a single woman in the world that wouldn't think you're wonderful. I think some of these men that make these really disgusting, revolting comments, I mean, nobody respects them. Nobody.
Yeah, but I mean, the strange thing is that I get some of the very highly educated women, but they are the elites. They are the elites who are actually from, I mean, most of them, I mean, like they are from certain ethnicities, and they are the ones who want to destroy the indigenous cultures and make the Arab Islamic dominate in Sudan. culture dominating Sudan. So they are the one who have been ruling Sudan since 1956 after the independence, and even before the independence up to now. So they don't want any change. So some of them, one of them, I mean, a lady comes on my show. A lady comes on my show. Can you believe, and say, I am a journalist, I am an educator, I'm a professor, and what? And then they like say, but what you are doing is literally a shame for all men, and we women, we will not accept that from you. Can you imagine? That is the most educated person in Sudan, I mean, or one of the most educated people in Sudan, and that's their mentality.
Just because of your clothes, because you're dressing as a woman, only for that reason?
Exactly. But the actual thing is that,
oh my God.
The actual thing is not that. The actual thing is that they are thinking that you are just, I mean, like, from, I mean, certain ethnicity, you are an African indigenous, so you don't actually need to, like, for them, if somebody from Arabs, from their ethnicity does, they are doing actually in the on national TV. They put on women dress, they act, and nobody talks about that, even imams. But because I am from African indigenous, and that's another problem, whole problem, because like Sudan is over 90% African indigenous, but they are not in power. And even those who are in power, they are just like, they don't have actual power. The actual power has been in the hands of those, I mean, few northern Sudanese who are from, who want to promote the agenda of Arab and Islam, Muslim world, and that's what they want to control. And that's why there has been a war in South Sudan. That's why South Sudan in 2011 became the youngest country. It separated from Sudan because of the jihad that was declared, and because of over 4 million, I mean, South Sudanese were killed in that jihad in the longest civil war in Africa, you see. So they understand everything, but because they are angry, why am I doing that? Because they are thinking that they should be the ones who do this. But I mean, if you committed crimes, how can you? I mean, they are very welcome if they want to do, but I mean, like, they don't actually want to do, because they see that the pain of women, and they don't even talk about that. Like, for example, if a woman in Khartoum, in the capital city, if one woman is, like, let's say, if they suffer, they can like protest. But if women, I mean, like, it's not every woman, of course. If a woman in Khartoum, in the elite group, for example, is slapped by a police, I mean, you can see those elites, they can just actually make demonstration, and they can talk to, I mean, in different media. But the fact that like for 20 years, the Darfur women are still being raped up to now, and they are still in refugee and IDP camps, nobody even cares. So they are just refusing me. I mean, those educated, they are refusing women. They are refusing me, not because I actually dress like this, but because of racism, you see.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I have a lot of things to say. I mean, first of all, like, anyone who thinks men dressing as a woman is, I mean, they need to get out a little bit more. This happens all over the world. Men are doing this everywhere. I mean, where I live here in Cambodia, there are men that do it. It's just like, it's really common. And anyways, the point of you doing this is to draw attention to these issues related to women. This is why you're doing it. So I think we need to have a little bit more of an educated conversation about this, and, people are just criticizing you blindly. It's really, it lacks intelligence, it lacks thought, and it lacks knowledge about the world as well. Like, I mean, how ignorant are you if you don't know that this is something that people are doing? This is really, really a common thing. But I think, also in terms of people not paying attention to this problem of women being raped in Darfur. I mean, I don't even know words in my own language to describe how horrible that is. I mean, what is going on in with the Sudanese government, or with the United Nations? This is actually the responsibility of the Sudanese government. What is going on when this is being allowed to happen? Where is the accountability? Where is the responsibility? Why can these generals not keep control over their militia? Why can they not? This is not something that is acceptable. And this is something that is a global standard. It is not rape is not acceptable. Anyone here, I'm watching the comments come through on this chat. Anyone here, put up your hand and say, you would be happy if this was you in this situation, if you were being raped, if it was your mother, if it was you as your father. And yes, lots of men and boys get raped too. That is a fact. I don't want to hear any discussion on it because it is a fact. So put up your hand to say you would be fine if that was happening to you or somebody in your family. There's going to be silence. No one's going to be fine with that. It means we have to not be fine when it's happening to other people. I don't care where you're from in the world. There is nobody that should tolerate this happening to anybody from any other part of the world. It's absolutely disgusting. In terms of what can we do, like, to draw more attention to this? What can we do to get more, to stop it from happening? And what can we do to get more accountability? And what can we do to get the Sudanese government to take action against this?
And that's what we actually need to like to talk about, yeah. But I mean, like the thing here is, you see, like there was a dictator and the Sudanese people came on the streets. Maybe you have heard about the Sudanese revolution, and they were everywhere, and particularly women. I mean, like women were literally going in front of men. They were shouting, and the soldiers were killing them. They were just going ahead peaceful. I mean, peacefully. They were shouting. They were clapping. Women are the ones who changed the one of the dictators who ruled Sudan for 30 years. They are women who did that. But I mean, after that, instead of bringing, I mean, a government that is for all people, those, I mean, political parties, the elites, they still control power. And instead of punishing those militia who were doing this, they came and they empowered those militia. Right now, as I'm talking, the actual leaders of Sudan are the militia leader who is known as Muhammad Hamdan Dagalo. He's the actual leader of Sudan. I mean, now he's the vice, but he's the actual leader. He's controlling all over Sudan. Not only in Darfur, he's now raping inside Khartoum, the capital city. Can you believe? I mean, of course, I mean, I believe that very soon the Sudanese people are going to go on the streets again. Now, all the Sudanese everywhere, the educated, they are like, they refuse what is happening. They don't like this. And very soon, everyone is going to go out on the streets, and we are going to change. So the government is part of this. I mean, they are part of the problem. How can then they become a part of the solution?
Well, and the fact that they're not becoming part of the solution. Why? Like, why not? This is also the problem here.
Sorry?
The fact that the government isn't actively being part of the solution is also part of the problem here, right?
Yes, but what I'm saying is, like, the Janjaweed militia who are raping, like, their leader is the actual leader of Sudan. So that is the, I mean, yes, he can do if he wants, but like, I mean, that his plan is actually to rape as many women as possible. He has a plan, and he's supported by countries like, I mean, by other countries in the Middle East. So he actually wants to, his plan is to destroy all the indigenous Sudanese people in Darfur and elsewhere. That's his plan. And to, I mean, like, to control power in Sudan. That's his plan. And unfortunately, there are some elites who support him. So that's the real problem. I mean, he's not there. Like, he brought a lot of new settlers from countries, like I said, Mali, Niger, Central Africa, Chad, and they are now literally occupying our places. That's why, our women who are now in the camps, they cannot go back. If they go back to their original villages, they are either attacked or they are, I mean, raped, or sometimes they are killed. And even men, like some women, they go there to farm. And if the one who's controlling your original farm or your original village, if he is good, he will tell you, okay, you can farm here, but after, like, you harvest, you have to divide with me equally. If he is good. You see, these are new settlers who have been brought from outside, and the government of Sudan is silent. I mean, can you imagine that the person whose name is Abdallah Hamdok, who is supported by a lot of, I mean, Western countries to change, but he's just there. He can do nothing. I mean, while he sees these militia raping and doing all this, and then he just says patience, patience. But every time we see that these militia, I mean the military leaders and the militia, they are being more empowered, while the civilian government led by him is being weak and weakened, and things are deteriorating. So it's very sad, very, very sad.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to find words to even like say to that. I mean, it's absolute. I mean, it is. I mean, and to sort of, I mean, if there's an active policy, like, or if there's, whether it's being formally, you know, whether it's formal or informal, of rape, I mean, that's psycho. There's no other word for it. I mean, that's a psychopath. There's nobody in the civilized world that could actively want to, who is a civilized person that could actively want to engage in that kind of policy. I mean, there's no words, is there? It's absolutely disgusting. It's disgraceful.
That is absolutely right. I just want to show you just a little video before we end up. This 1 hour. Yeah. So.
I mean, I'll just say, just while you're looking for the video, that this, I mean, like, I can't say it enough. Like, there's not a single person that would ever want to have that happen to them. And it can happen to you as long as other people think that it's okay to happen to you. And you are always going to be somebody else's other, you know? So we have to have like a global understanding that this is not acceptable behavior. It's not fine.
The international community has long suspected.
Yeah, go ahead. Yes.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying we have to have like a global culture where this is not acceptable. I think a lot of people sort of don't care about these things, like don't care about rape because they think it's not going to happen to them or it doesn't apply to them. But of course, you know, that's obviously a horrible attitude to have, because it shouldn't matter if it not going to happen to you, or you think it's not going to happen to you. You should care if it doesn't happen to other people. But it can, of course, always happen to you. I've been researching this stuff for a long time, and I tell you, there's not a single person, male or female, baby to old man or old woman, that cannot be susceptible to this kind of violence.
That's
I promise you. Yeah. I promise you.
That is absolutely right. Yes. So this is like a CNN, a Sudanese, a very brave lady. I mean, from origin from Sudan, a lady. No man has ever done this. But a lady, a Sudanese lady, who is CNN international correspondent, her name is Neemal Bagir. She went to the Janjaweed, I mean, like a stronghold, and she met the leader of the Janjaweed, and like she had interview with him. I mean, that's very dangerous, but I mean, only women can do that. So I just want, yeah, you see?
It's what the international community has long suspected. Next morning, I wanted to ask the commander about the crimes committed against civilians by Janjaweed and why the UN want him investigated.
Sorry, I think let me just remove you, or I mean, like let me just so that it will be clear. I hope you can hear as well, right? When like this, okay. Sorry.
It's what the international community has long suspected. Next morning, I wanted to ask the commander about the crimes committed against civilians by Janjaweed and why the UN want him investigated for alleged war crimes. When the world thinks of Darfur and they think of the Arab tribes in Darfur, they think of the rapes and the looting and the pillages. Are your men responsible for that? Hamdan said he wasn't responsible for what others had done. His men had only fought insurgents. And when the government ordered him to carry out operations in civilian areas, he refused. And he says that he is willing to put his hand on his heart and say that he is responsible for his men, and he knows what his men did and didn't do, and they didn't commit atrocities. He knows the world thinks his men are Janjaweed, but in his culture, a Janjaweed is a bandit who rapes and loots. His men were part of an organized force, therefore to call them Janjaweed is wrong. The men then produced what they said were army ID cards. You can see in Arabic it says identity for officers and soldiers, armed forces, commission for intelligence and security, and there's actually an ID number. They said all the men had cards like these, proving they were part of the government's forces. Hamdan said he'd welcome an investigation into his men's conduct. Hamdan wanted to show us that African villagers were still living close to the garrison, to reassure us that his men weren't murderers. After all, Janjaweed have burnt non-Arab settlements all across Darfur. They're just taking us to a nearby port village because I think show evidence of conciliation between Arab and non-Arab tribes. Commander Hamdan's talking to some of the village elders by the look of it. This is Ishaq Abdurrahman. He's the tribal sheikh here. The sheikh said Arab bandits had attacked the village early in the conflict, but that Hamdan's forces stepped in to protect them. So would you describe him as a friend? The sheikh says, when I say that he's my neighbor, I mean that he's my brother. If the sheikh's sentiment was genuine, this scene doesn't fit with the accepted story of Darfur. Arabs and Africans seemingly living peacefully together. At the garrison, he saw something else totally unexpected. This is a new intake. These soldiers came in after the group defected from the government. What's interesting is that this force is not all Arab. There are both Arab Darfuris and non-Arab Darfuris who previously were on very opposing sides.
So it's like, it's a little bit like long. Yeah, it's little. I don't know if the voice was clear.
Yeah, I could hear.
Yeah, so it's a little bit long, but I mean, I just wanted to show you this man. I mean, now I mean, like you can't believe that even the one who is like chief is like trying to deny the fact that he's the Janjaweed leader, and he's trying to like, this is how, I mean, fake men act actually, because he knows 100% that he's the leader of the Janjaweed. The whole world knows, but because, I mean, because of money or what, he just tries to say he's a friend or whatever. So
yeah,
now,
he's saying
you
he's
see
got
this man.
over.
Yes, so this man, and I really want to salute this, I mean, brave, I mean, lady who actually went there, and it's very dangerous place, really dangerous. I mean,
yeah,
she just went there and yeah, interviewed him.
Yeah.
So, like, what I want to say is that this man, who actually like committed all the crimes, he's now the actual leader in Sudan. You see, and he has also brought all what he was doing in Darfur. He started doing it even in Khartoum right now. You see, in 2018, when the Sudanese people, when the Sudanese men and women, they came outside on the streets, they say they don't want the regime of Omar al-Bashir and the crimes that he did and so and so. Like, and most of them were women. What happened is that this man in Khartoum, I mean, we had a huge sit-in front of the army headquarters. He came and this is in the capital city, not in Darfur. He attacked that sit-in, and there are a lot of videos. The whole world has seen it. He killed, I mean, like hundreds of men and women. He raped a lot of women. He literally threw a lot of men and women in the River Nile in Khartoum. This was on the 3rd of June 2019. You see, but now he's in power. So can you imagine that this type of person can actually change? Do you think that this person can change and stop the rape?
again, I mean, I fail to find words in my own language that I've been speaking for 38 years. I mean, that is, I mean, even the fact that somebody like that could become a leader of a country anywhere in the world is frightening. I mean, it's absolutely frightening. I mean, I want to know, like, what do Sudanese people think about this? Like, and, you know, how do they feel, like, about having someone like that in power?
I mean, they feel bad, but they do nothing. That's why some of the reason that they are insulting me, they say that, because I had a video, I say, I don't see any men in Sudan. I say, if they are men, then why should we allow this man to be our leader? That's the question. Because he's literally raping, not only in Darfur, even in Khartoum, and he's doing like whatever you cannot imagine in Khartoum, in the capital city. You see, he's doing that. Now, I mean, for me, whether it's in Darfur or in the capital city, it's the same. But for those who were not thinking like when it was happening in Darfur, it's different for them. So now that it's happening there, I think this is the right time that the Sudanese need to actually stand up and unite, forget all their differences. And this man, natural place is in jail. That's where he should go, not in power.
Absolutely. Yes. I mean, that's not even a murderer and a rapist. There's nowhere else that again, it's like defining the words that somebody like that could become into a position of power anywhere in the world. I mean, I would think that the Sudanese people would want more, like, you know, deserve better. They deserve better for themselves. They deserve to have, you know, a leader that is dedicated to the commitment of their well-being. You know, don't they? Like, don't the Sudanese people deserve that, to have someone?
I believe that they deserve, and I believe. So, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that is interested in building the country so it's a strong economy, so everybody can have a good way of life, and so that, you know, that everybody can have freedom and fairness, and so things like rape and murder are not acceptable. I don't think there really is anybody in the world that actively wants rape and murder in their lives. If they are the rapists or the murderers, that's a different story. But nobody wants that to happen to them. I mean, even in Afghanistan, like recently, I saw on the news that the Taliban had killed 4 kidnappers. Like, you know, there's been a big problem with kidnapping in Afghanistan, and they had laid them out in the middle of Kabul, and all these people, this is like 2 days ago, and all these people were around, and people were very happy. And it's kind of like, how do you look at that? Because it's like, wow, they murdered these people. And I think from my perspective, I don't like murder. This is not something. On the other hand, I understand kidnapping to be a major issue in Afghanistan, and they're causing a lot of harm and suffering to a lot of people. So maybe that's good. I don't know. But the point is that, you know, that I think we need to, people don't want this. Like, people were happy that these kidnappers had been punished and these kind of things. We don't want violence in our lives. That's not about a culture, I don't think. I mean, is it? We come from very different cultures. I don't want that in my life. I don't think you do either, right?
Yes, definitely. I mean, I believe not only I and you, but I think nobody actually wants for themselves. Nobody. Yes.
No. So why would we want to support any kind of governance or any kind of system that supports it? Why would we do that to ourselves?
That's the question. And now, you know, like those who were like leading the protests, they deceived the Sudanese people, and they say, you know what, this man and the other ones, we are going to bring them to justice. We are going to we will bring them to justice. They will go to jail. But what they have done, they have been giving them more power. What we have seen is they are controlling more power. And the last time, the prime minister who was brought by the Sudanese people, he just said that, you know, the majority of the Sudanese, I mean, like, money is actually controlled by the military, by the Janjaweed, by the militia, the majority. So, like, the civilian government is just controlled like less than 18%. The 28% of money just is in the hands of the Janjaweed, the militia. So how can even we allow that? We asked our prime minister, I mean, who is actually, I mean, like, educated in the Western world, who has a lot of experience with the United Nations, who is supported by the United Nations, by the by a lot of, I mean, like international, by the international community. But I mean, what we can see, I mean, like nothing is changing actually on the ground. The militia are becoming stronger and stronger. Their crimes are like becoming, I mean, bigger and bigger. They were just committing crimes in Darfur, in Nuba Mountains, in Blue Nile, in the corners of Sudan. Now they are committing these crimes in the center of Khartoum. A lot of now in Khartoum just became like, you can't believe. I mean, like you see, there are a lot of people who are supported by the militia, by the Janjaweed militia, by Hemiti, Muhammad Hamdan Dagalo, and these people are now literally going, and like if a woman is just going on the street in Khartoum, she's having a phone or just a purse, they just go and literally grab it and run away. That's what they are doing right now. You see. This is not in Darfur. I'm talking about Khartoum, you see. It is very, very frightening, but I believe that now is the time that this actually needs to stop. And I believe that we are going to stop it. And as you were saying that we deserve a better leader, we respect all men, but as women, we believe that now is the time to get an opportunity. We as women, I mean, a woman needs to lead Sudan now, because men have failed for so long. I know that there are good men out there, but I believe that now is the time for us to give to a strong woman who can lead Sudan to prosperity and to a better place for all Sudanese people.
That's right. And I think Sudan deserves that. And I think we can see, I mean, any doubters, like we could take a look, you know, even just to compare, like I mentioned before, the case of Germany. And let's compare Germany to the leaders of Sudan at this moment. Which country is more economically prosperous and is a better place to live? Which country is led by a woman and which country is led by a man? You know, and that's not to say that there are men that are incapable leaders. That's not necessarily true. But we can see there are many men who are incapable leaders, and we see that by the failure of so many countries and states around the world. The absolute failure in terms of economy, in terms of human rights, in terms of being able to provide basic standards of living for the people, you know. And so the best person for the job needs to be there, male or female, it does not matter. We want to have good lives. Everybody, all of us, we want to have enough food for our families. We want to have a house to live in. We want our children to go to school. And yes, we want our daughters to go to school as well. We want to be safe. We don't want to go outside and fear someone's going to shoot us for our bag or fear that our child is going to get kidnapped. Nobody wants these things. Nobody. And there are certain ways to achieve that and get to that level of economic and political stability. Whoever is the best for the job to achieve that should get it. And that should not matter about gender. Definitely. And why should it not matter about gender? Because it's offensive to say that it matters. In the same way, it's offensive to say it matters about what race they are. But also because don't we want those things? Would you not? Isn't it not better if a woman is the one who is going to lead Sudan to that? Is it not better to have that than live in violence and turmoil with a rapist and a murderer in charge? Is it not better? Like, I don't. This is.
Oh, it's definitely. You see. I just want to say something. A lot of people who can say no, women cannot lead us. What they are doing, they say the situation in Sudan is terrible, and then they go to Libya and they like go through Mediterranean Sea. They go to Italy, and finally they end up living in Germany. They enjoy life there, and even in Germany they will say no, a woman will not lead us. I tell, come on, you left Sudan. Why did you leave Sudan? And where are you now? Who is leading you?
It's this failure. You know, one time I went to Iraq, like I was in the north part of Iraq, and I was talking to someone there, and he was saying, everybody, you know, that he was talking about men, and he was like saying they want to leave Iraq and specifically go to Australia because the standard of living is better in Australia. That's what he was saying. But he was making fun of them because he was saying they want to go to Australia and take the same values and ideas they have from here and implement them there and make Australia the same as Iraq. And he's like, can't they see Iraq has failed because of the ideas and values that they have? The reason why they want to leave because it's such they don't feel comfortable. There's not enough jobs. It's unsafe. There's corruption. There's all these problems. The reason they want to leave is because of the values that they've held. why do you want to go somewhere else where it's better and not respect the values that are there, and instead put the values back of the ones that have led to the failure of where you've come from? And
you see, I just wanted to,
it's so like, stupid, this mentality.
I know, very stupid. And really, you just reminded me of something. I see a lot of like Sudanese and people from like Muslim world. What they are saying is like they are in the Western world, they enjoy, they say only one thing is lacking. They say only like the Sharia law is lacking, because these people are really good people. They have good hearts, and they are actually, I mean, like very good people, but only one thing is lacking. So what they are actually believing is that, I mean, they want to bring the Sharia law in the Western world, I mean, and rule in the Western world, not knowing that it is the same. I'm talking about the hardline Sharia law. I mean, not like the moderate Islam. I'm talking about the hardline Sharia law. So they forgot that it's the same hardline Sharia law that actually brought them here in the Western world. But they are actually working hard because they strongly believe that this is what they need to do to bring the Sharia law here.
Okay, well, can I say one thing on that? Is that okay? Do you mind just on this?
No, I don't mind. Just go ahead.
All right, Sharia law is not welcome in the Western world. You cannot bring that there. This is not part of our culture, our tradition, our values, or our ideas. You may not bring it. If you want to have Sharia law, live in a country where that exists. You may not bring it to the Western world. We do not agree with these ideas. They are not part of anything that we want to have in our culture. And of course, exactly as you are saying, this look at it brings nothing productive. If that is your idea, you keep it in your place. You will not be bringing it to the Western world. That is for sure. Okay, so that is just something that has to be said.
That's very important. Yes.
And as a woman, I want to especially emphasize that your ideas about women within Sharia law that I have encountered in my travels are not welcome in the Western world. They are not welcome. It is not about even they are so out of context with our own culture and our own ideas and our own values, but they are not welcome. So I just want to be able to say that.
As for me as a woman, it's not welcome even in Sudan. I mean, we like now the new government, I mean, like some of like the justice minister is actually from Darfur, and he went to Harvard University. He's actually changing. I mean, maybe he's the only one who's actually working. He's changing a lot of these laws, I mean, Sharia laws, and he's bringing, I mean, like United Nations Convention for Elimination against Women, I mean, CEDAW, and all these conventions. He's like, they are like I mean, the former government, they were against these conventions, but now they are like trying to, like they are doing they are agreeing to everything. So I think he's maybe doing, I mean, one of the ones who's doing better than any of the other ministers. Yeah, and I really like what he's doing. But not only in the West, I thank you for what you have just said. But I can proudly say that not only in the Western world, this is, I mean, it's hardline Sharia law is not welcome even in Sudan. It is not welcome. And that is the major problem for us. It is not welcome. We are looking for a secular state, a state that is equal for all Sudanese people, regardless of their religion, regardless of their gender, regardless of their, I mean, like ethnicity, regardless of who they are. Not only that, but also the hardline Sharia law cannot even be practiced in houses. That should be completely banned, because that is a crime. Like when you say that, like when you want to treat women as inferior, when you want to, I mean, like just force women to marry, or that cannot be allowed. Even you cannot tell me that this is my religion, I am free to practice. No, you have to practice according to the law of Sudan, which is going to be, I mean, in accordance with the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. That's
absolutely. Absolutely. You cannot force women to wear burqas. You cannot force women to wear niqabs. You cannot tell a woman that she is somehow a bad woman, a whore, or a prostitute because she is not covering her hair, her face, her arms, or whatever part of the body that it is that she is wearing. One of the other things, I mean, aside from that on women's rights, it's also about allowing people freedom of expression, freedom of speech, these kinds of things. We cannot have, you know, if we're speaking specifically about the Western world, you are free to choose your religion. You are free to speak. You may not put people in prison or kill people because of they have, for example, chosen to leave a certain religion, or because they have chosen to raise criticisms of a certain idea, an ideology, a value, or a religion. You may not do that. Everybody is free to express their ideas. And what we try to do is try to encourage cultures of tolerance, to listen to each other, to understand other people's ideas. And if we don't agree, we engage in dialogue. We don't, as if you don't mind me saying, but I've watched some of the comments in here where there are some of the males who are making very rude comments. It's unnecessary. This is not the way we come to like a civilized, productive way of agreement by swearing and just making random insults. It achieves nothing. We should share our ideas together and then be able to come to agreements on things. And I think, but in terms of in the Western world, people are really trying hard. And I think this is really important for people to hear that are not from the Western world. People are very, very focused in the West at the moment on tolerance. And so when you come to their countries, or when someone else comes to a Western country, they will allow a lot because they want to be tolerant towards you out of respect. They want to show you respect. We're trying to encourage inclusive places where everybody is fair and treats each other well. That is not to be taken advantage of. And that does not mean that other ideas can come and be forced and pushed on taken advantage of people's kindness. And so I personally think that it's wonderful when people listen to each other and respect each other's ideas and values. And if we disagree, we can do so in a constructive way. And I personally think that would be wonderful if that could be shared globally. I don't know, I'd be, how everybody else feels about that, but I think that is something that is really important.
Yeah, anyway, thank you so much. I think you have given us a lot of things that people need to think about, and especially men, they need to consider what you have been saying, and you have a lot of experience in this area actually. So I really thank you so much. I just want to ask you maybe last question. So yeah. What are some of the few things that we can do in order to change the situation of women in Sudan, both men and women?
So I think one of the most important things is exactly what you're doing. You're discussing, you're bringing it up, and you're drawing attention with the way that you're doing things. And you look fabulous, by the way. You look wonderful. Yeah. And, I think that by doing this, by speaking up, by talking about these things, because actually all we have in any part of the world, what a culture is, it's not made out of stone, it's a social contract. It's something somebody maybe before you has decided in this particular piece of land, the people living on it are going to follow these rules. That's all it is. It's been made up. It can therefore be changed. And that doesn't mean we have to change the good parts of our culture. For me, in my culture, Christmas, I love it. It's so fun. It's wonderful. It's about family and enjoying time together with other people, and everyone gets together. It's so lovely. I don't want to change that. What I do want to change is the patriarchy, are problems with men expressing dominance over women or sexual harassment. We can change the bad parts of our culture. That's okay. I think what I noticed with so many people in so many parts of the world is they're so stuck in tradition and they don't want to change anything. But you don't have to change everything. You can just change the parts that are not working very well for everyone and still keep the best parts of your culture, So I think that I just wanted to make that point, But I think the way to bring change it has to be brave individuals like you, Dada Sundu, who is standing up to speak about these things and is doing so in a public forum, despite people saying bad things, despite people being critical, and saying your views. It's so important. And then when we do that, we can hear other people who agree with you, as I agree with there's nothing you've said tonight that I don't agree with 100%. And I know there's so many other people around the world that think like you. So ignore these people saying these very rude, silly comments. We need to listen to them because they're not putting forth anything constructive, and keep And we don't need to respect people like that either, do we? And,
but for me, I just, I just dismiss them. I just like dismiss them as if there's nothing. I can read all their comments. Like one of them is saying, are men like this, like you, going to change? So like he's, I mean, a lot of such, and some of them, they are literally, I think do you see the comments here? I think you see, right?
Yeah, I can see them.
Yeah, so a lot of bad comments.
Yeah, there's some males in here, not men, but there's also, I can see that there are some men who are making really great comments and are saying things, and and so we know that the ones just swearing and saying things like that, well, you're not, other men don't support you, other men don't agree with you and what you're saying, and what's more, neither do the women. Women don't respect you either. So I think that's really important to be heard. So I think, maybe I could just finish this off with a story, to emphasize my point. Yes, is that okay? Yes. All right. So I was in the Kurdish part of Iraq, in northern Iraq, which is, for me, was in my travels quite a shock to go there, because it was the most conservative place. And that feels like a nice way to put it, but the most conservative place that I had ever been, apart from Yemen. And it was just barely saw a woman on the street. It's very, very conservative there. And I don't think that's good. Anyways, I had met a Kurdish male who was a surgeon, and he was, we were talking about women's rights, because I was there doing interviews about honor killings. And he told me, he said, and I expressed all the things I felt, and that this is terrible, and all the situation here for Kurdish women is terrible, as it is in so many parts of the world. And he said to me, okay, so Johanna, a while ago, women were never allowed to wear pants here. They were never allowed to wear jeans or anything like that. They always had to wear skirts. And he said, one day there was a woman, and she walked into the market area in jeans, in pants. And everyone was yelling at her and jeering at her and throwing fruit at her and ostracizing her. But she kept doing it, and she kept coming in every day in her jeans and every day. And I was surprised when he told me that story, because when I was there, even though I didn't see that many women and they were all covered, there were a lot of women wearing pants.
Wow.
So
just because of that one brave woman.
Yeah. She just she set a standard. And so she did it. And so no doubt what happened was another woman saw her doing it, went, oh, well, if she can, well, I will. And then others, and then that's how it changed.
Wow.
But it has to take the first woman. And I love that story, because I think it's a great example for anybody, and especially for women, but also in the situation of, say, for example, people wanting to shift the political situation in Sudan or something like that. There has to be those brave souls that make those changes. And sometimes it's really extremely difficult. No one wants to have a tomato thrown in their face, do they? No one wants to be jeered at and leered, and be ostracized. Nobody wants that. I don't care where you're from. I don't care what your religion is or what your culture is. Nobody wants to be treated that way. But anyways, she pushed through it, and she's made some changes for women in Kurdistan. That's how we do it. By being brave. Like you. So yeah, so that's what I think can be done. Are you still there? Hello?
Oh, I just removed myself. Yeah. Sorry. Oh yeah. No, sorry. I was saying that yes, that is very, good story, and very touching story, because that is what Sudanese women need to take from. They need to take, from that story. They need to literally, they need to step, they need to step in and start, a first person needs to be there. And right now, definitely there are a lot of women who are actually doing this, and I salute them. They are even doing this in Khartoum, even though they are mocked by imams, but they are doing this. Some of them during the time of Omar al-Bashir, the former regime, they were even jailed just for talking about their rights. Yeah, but now, even though there is somehow some sort of at least some freedom, especially in this, like women can talk about their rights. I mean, not like the way I'm talking, but they can talk about their basic rights. Yeah. So I think what they need to do is, like, a lot of women need to step and start talking about these things. And I believe the more women and men are talking about it, the more it's going to change.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I'd say as well to any woman who is like wanting to speak up about these things, but feels like you're alone or something like that, you're not. And I know how that feels because I felt like that too. But just go on the internet. Like, with another situation, if I could tell you, like, I was in Iran and I was there doing research, and I met this woman, actually two sisters, and they had been through the most horrific sexual abuse from their father, and it was horrible. And like, being in Iran, it's such a conservative Islamic society. It was like they couldn't say anything, they couldn't do anything. The mother was complicit in it. Like, what a terrible situation. It was just absolutely awful. These two young women were so amazing. Like, they were so strong that they were doing their own thing. They were living alone. They were, despite what they had survived, despite the constraints of Iranian society, of what it imposes on everybody, including, but for the West, for the women. And I remember being in a car with one of those sisters and with another Iranian woman that became a good friend. And we were all talking in English. And she said the one Iranian woman said to the sister, she said, how did you get like the courage to speak up? Like, how did you know? And she said, well, because when I looked up sexual abuse in Farsi, there was nothing. She's like, I couldn't find anything in Farsi. But because I speak English, when I looked up in English, I could find all this stuff. There was so much had been written about it. And I just gained courage from it, is what she said. Wow. And I totally relate to that. That was exactly like the same with me. Like, as soon as I experienced so much harassment in my travels and on the street and so much disrespect, and I was so angry about it. And yet I could just, I would talk to people, I was getting a very negative reaction. But when I would go online, I would find all these other women and men that were speaking up against it and saying, no, this is wrong. We don't want this to be happening to us, and we don't want it to happen to anybody else. So I think sometimes some of the problems can be with the fact that if nothing is being published on these things in local languages, and if women, for example, like in Darfur, if they don't have literacy skills, they might not be able to access information about knowing these things are going on. And that could be a real problem. Like, obviously anyone watching this is going to speak English and be able to listen and engage and share these ideas. But so on that level, that makes education really important. So, people can learn languages to learn other ideas. But yeah, I think that, know that you are not alone. And if you are wanting change, you are not alone. A lot of people think like you. You just might not know about it.
Wait a second, please. Asid. Just a second, please.
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's just my point, is that perhaps you just maybe you don't know about it. You don't know that there are 100 million people over there that in India that share your ideas. And there are another 40 million over there in the Middle East that share your ideas. And then there's another 179 million over there in Latin America that share your ideas. And there's 3 billion in the Western world that share your idea. You just don't know about it because you can't access all those people and all that information.
Wow.
But they do.
Wow.
And that's one thing that I have learned from my travels. I've been to like more than 140 countries, and I've done a lot of research projects in different places, talking specifically to people about these issues in all kinds of places. And I can say that for sure. And I know there's people on the other side where, obviously, that's right, we all have these problems. But I think one of the differences between the people on, say, our side and then on the other side is the lack of willing. I don't think people on one side have a lack of willingness to use violence to achieve their goals, where other people are willing to use extreme violence, and that's the difference. I'm not willing to hurt anybody to achieve my goals, but or to achieve change on these issues. I'm not willing to do that, but there are other people who are, and that's the difference. So we have to change people with ideas.
Thank you so much. That was tremendous. That was so powerful. And we Thank you so much. First of all, I mean, like, I can see some of true men, not just male, and also women are actually happy with what you are doing, and they are like appreciating you. And I mean, we can't appreciate you enough. We just say thank you so much for sharing all that with us. This is literally going to be very helpful for a lot of Sudanese women, and for the Sudan, I mean, as a country, because I mean, like, these are the very ideas that are going to change, I mean, our country from where we are to a better place for all people. We are definitely going to bring you again. And I mean, like, this was just an introduction or an overview of, like, I mean, like, what is going on, I mean, gender inequality. But I think you actually shared, like, far more than what we intended. And I really appreciate you for that, and for your encouragement. And thank you so much, Johanna.
Well,
thank you.
I mean, I just say that right back to you. And I think that that you are an excellent example of courage. And I think you are an excellent example of how a man should be, even though I know you're a woman. But the strength that it takes to as a male to speak up on these issues, particularly in places that you come from, and the fact that you are willing to do the things that you are doing in order to draw that attention, only speaks to your strength as a male. And I think that I think you are sending a fantastic example to other men.
Thank you so much.
No, I don't care what these other.
Yes, and literally, I mean, maybe
wrong.
This one, maybe, sorry, just to add something. Maybe this, like, to dress like this. Maybe this is not. I mean, this is not a deal in the Western world. But in my country, in my own culture, this is literally, you are like nothing. You are like zero. But I don't care, because I all care about how to get my message out there. That's what I care for. I just care about how to change the lives of those women who are, like, being abused day and night, because this is the way my mother, I mean, brought me up. She always taught me to respect women, and she was like, not like other women who were like, not like other families. She was a different woman. I mean, when she was bringing me, we were, I mean, like, in our house, like, we were boys and girls, but we were all treated equally. We did everything, house, I mean, every, I mean, like, house chores equally. I mean, that's how she taught us. Of course, when I was young, I didn't understand, but when I grew up, I was like, oh, right now, I just thank God for her life every day, because she's literally the one who helped me to feel pain. I mean, like sometimes I can't even eat when I see the pain of women in Darfur or in Sudan. Like, when I see them, it's like I'm the one who actually facing it. You see, that's why I say, okay, I have to come and speak up, even though I know this is very big shame. But I mean, I even want to change the idea of what is shame and what is not shame.
It's not a shame. Well,
exactly.
I mean, it's not a shame. I mean, if some people in Sudan think that way, that's just that some people. Look at a global map of the world, all the places in the world and all the people in there. The absolute majority will not see it as a shame. So, you know, those people who are telling you it's shameful are a minority, and they're wrong.
And not only that, I mean, just one thing. I mean, suppose, I mean, it's not happening, going to happen, but suppose even only 1% of the world agrees with me. I don't care, by the way. I don't go with the majority. I go with 1%. The truth. With the truth. I mean, I don't care whether, like, the majority agree with me or not, but what I care, is it important? Is it going to change somebody's life? Yes.
And that's why we know you're a real man, because you have that courage. Like, I mean, it's absolutely tremendous what you're doing, and you have proper courage.
Thank you so much.
What so many of these other males, you know, don't have. So that's how we know the difference, you know. And I think that's something that all men need to really understand. And I think that's also something that women also, I think a lot of older women understand this, but younger women sometimes make mistakes. I certainly did. But we know this is how we decipher between the real men and the non-real men, you know. is by understanding the courage of spirit. It's not about physical strength. It's got nothing to do with that. It's about the courage of who you are, and your willingness to defend, and your willingness to stand up for others in need, and your willingness to go against the tide. That takes courage, and that's where we know who are and it's also the same with women. You know, like there are the women that you were talking about before, who are like going with the patriarchy because that's easier probably. It's not particularly, it takes courage to stand up against, you know, systems that are like really strong against you as having rights. It takes courage to do that. And if you're too weak and you have no spine and all you want to do is go with the flow because it's easier for you, well, you live with yourself like that. When you go to bed at night, you live with yourself, knowing that's who you are.
That is true.
It's the people that have real courage. It's not about picking up a gun. Anyone can do that. I can do that. My cats can do that. Like, it's not, well, maybe not, but you know what I mean. Like, a child can do that. It's not that difficult to pick up a gun and shoot somebody. What takes courage is to have ideas and to defend them, and to be able to go against other people with your ideas and stay strong and firm with them and be able to keep them. That takes strength, and that takes courage.
And I'm sorry, we are just trying to end, and then another thing comes just quickly. You see, you just reminded me something. Like, a lot of men say, okay, you say that, you are now insulting men. Okay, I'm going to come to right where you are, even though you are in Canada or whatever. I'm going to come right there and I'm going to kill you. And then I was like, okay, I was like, okay, suppose you come and kill me. Does that make you a male? I mean, a man? Because I say, is that how you think about man? And then I was like, okay, of course you can come and kill me. Anyone can do, but that makes you stupid. I mean, that doesn't make you a man. That just makes you stupid.
And weak.
And weak, exactly.
That's what they are. They are weak.
Exactly.
But anyone makes threats against you in Canada, you can report them. That's not something that can be.
Oh, definitely. I mean, they're just okay. I mean, if they were that strong, I mean, they would have at least saved their sisters from being raped every day. I mean, they're just liars. I mean, come on, they have no courage to do that. But I mean, if somebody,
exactly,
they have no courage to do that. Anyway, thank you so much, because it's not going to end like this. We are going to talk and talking for hours.
I know. It would be
but
easy.
Definitely, we are going to arrange, other meetings, and we're going to bring you again. And anyway, thank you so much once again. Yeah, we love you. The Sudanese people love you. Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much for everyone that's listening and listening to you. And I think that's fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, thank you so much.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you so much, our viewers in Sudan and elsewhere. Thank you so much for joining us, and we really appreciate that. We love you so much. So we are going to end up this live stream here, and we appreciate the guest Johanna from Australia with us today, and we're going to bring her again. We are not going to keep silent. As your sister, I'm going to work day and night until that situation is changed in Sudan. And what I ask you is, please help us spread the message, share the message, and if you know English, go and if you understand the message, and if you know English, please share it with your friends, and also go and explain to those from your family, those who do not know English. Explain to them. Definitely, we are going to continue broadcasting in Arabic and in our other languages, so that this message of respecting women, this message of change will definitely reach to every Sudanese, because that is the beginning of a true civilization. That is the beginning of a real revolution. You know why our revolution in 2018 and the overthrow of Umar al-Bashir failed? Because we have tried to change the faces, but we have not tried to change our minds. We need to change our mindset. We need to change how we think about women. Now, let me tell you, whatever we do, if we do 100 revolutions, if we can go to the moon, if we can do anything, if we don't respect women, we are literally going to be zero. So this is the beginning of any true revolution, to start respecting women and to actually like bring them, I mean, like to let them become equal. They are actually, I mean, born equal with men. So that's what they need to do. That's where they need to be. And in Sudan, we know that, I mean, women's role in our lives is far more than men's role. So thank you so much. May God bless you. We love you so much. And we're going to come again. Thank you. Thank you. This is Dada Sundu. Bye.